Happy Tuesday morning. I'm going to talk about white privilege today, and some examples that I've seen recently, and some personal examples that I've had over the years with law enforcement. And conceptually, people get really bent out of shape. People who look like me get really bent out of shape when you bring up the phrase white privilege. And they say it doesn't exist, it's not a real thing. It's an absolute real thing. And you can look at the protests that we've seen over the course of this year, since Election Day, since Inauguration Day, and you compare the response to law enforcement to the protests that we've seen that this year have been comprised, those protests have been comprised almost exclusively of white people. We haven't seen the militarized response on the part of law enforcement. We haven't, that's certainly not the response that we saw in the summer of 2020 in response to the Black Lives Matter protests. And specifically, what I observed this past Saturday during the No Kings protest is that when I marched in the protest, my brother and I both marched together in the protest in San Francisco, I saw one motorcycle police officer about an hour before the protest was scheduled to start, and he was helping to direct traffic along the entire protest route from Dolores Park up Dolores Street to Market Street, down Market Street to Van Ness Street, Van Ness Avenue, up Van Ness, across Grove to Civic Center. Along that entire route, I did not see one single police officer at all. And the only other police officers that I saw that day were, after the march was over, there were a couple of motorcycle cops who were parked up against the Bill Graham Civic Auditorium looking at their phones. And you compare these protests to the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020, the police response, the law enforcement response. I mean, I saw multiple videos, live streams of protests during the summer of 2020, where during the day police officers were mingling with protesters, taking photos with them, taking photos of them all like taking a knee. And then when we got close to dusk, those same officers would put their riot gear on and go to town and cause violence and cause injuries. And that's one observation. And that was quite obvious to me on this past Saturday. So what is white privilege? I mean, it can have a lot of different definitions in a lot of different contexts, but to me it simply means that the color of my skin has never made my life more difficult. The color of my skin has never made specific instances or circumstances in my life more difficult or more dangerous, as well as there have been specific instances and circumstances in my life where I firmly believe that the color of my skin has worked to my benefit in a way that it would not happen for people who don't look like me. And in 2020, I had been a gun owner when I lived in Ohio. I moved out here about 25 years ago. I hadn't owned any guns while I lived in San Francisco or California. In 2020, I decided it was time to get some firearms again. And two of the purchases that I made, I bought a very, very high-end, expensive AR-15 type rifle, and I bought a top-of-the-line optic to go on top of that. It's another version of a scope. I have a red dot optic where I look through that. There's a red dot. I put the red dot on the target that I'm shooting at the range, and it helps you rank. It helps you hit your target. That type of firearm, I have the civilian version. It's a weapon that is issued to special forces in the United States military. It's a weapon that's commonly owned by law enforcement in the United States. And the optic that I purchased is also very commonly used by law enforcement in the United States. Each of those items came with a sticker. And I put those two stickers on the bottom lower left corner of the rear window on my car, advertising that I am a gun owner and these are two of the things that I own. Since doing that, I've been pulled over 3 or 4 times for, mainly for things like speeding, on the 5, on Highway 5, either going to or coming from Los Angeles. In 2 or 3 of those instances where I was very clearly speeding by a significant amount, the CHP troopers, it was the same thing each time. They would come up, I'd have my license, registration, proof of insurance ready. They'd take that information from me, and they'd be like, hey, I noticed your stickers. Do you have any firearms in your vehicle today? And I would always say, like, nope, today's not a range day. Nothing in the car. No request that I step out of the vehicle, no request to search my vehicle, no demand that I open up the back of my car for them to look. Then they would go run my information. They would come back. They would see that I don't have any warrants, haven't had any moving violations in a long time. We would have a pleasant conversation about firearms, and then they would give me a warning, and I would leave. And that was that. I think those interactions would have gone dramatically differently if I was not a white man. There was one time that I was pulled over on my way home from the gun range, and I told the officer, I have 2 handguns in the back of my car, my ammo bags on the front seat. I'm coming home from the gun range. And again, didn't put his hand on his gun, didn't draw his weapon, didn't point his weapon at me, didn't demand that I get out of the vehicle, didn't demand that I open up the back of my car and show him the guns, which I offered to do. And again, I got a warning and was sent on my way. And he didn't call for backup. There was none of that kind of stuff. There was no escalation of any kind. I'm not licensed to carry a firearm in the state of California. I had 2 of them in my vehicle that day. I was transporting them in a manner that was consistent with California law, but the officer involved in that stop did nothing to escalate it. Now I want to talk about a young man named Philando Castile, a 32-year-old African-American man who was fatally shot during a traffic stop outside of St. Paul, Minnesota on July 6, 2016. He's 32 years old. He was with his girlfriend and her 4-year-old daughter. Officers pulled him over because he had a broken brake light. One of the officers had previously radioed that he was going to pull over this car. The 2 occupants just looked like people that were involved in a robbery. The driver looks like one of our suspects. When they pulled him over, he said, officer, I am carrying a handgun. I am licensed to carry a handgun. The officer, whose last name was Yanez, said, well, don't reach for it. He was like, I'm not reaching for it. The officer said, don't pull it out. And Philando said, I'm not pulling it out. And the officer said, don't pull it out, and then fired 7 shots at Philando Castile. He hit him 5 times, twice in the heart. His girlfriend said, you just killed my boyfriend. She started live streaming on Facebook. Mr. Castile died of his injuries despite lawfully carrying a handgun and having a license or a permit to do that, which he immediately informed the officers, the officer who came up to his window. And the officer shot and killed him anyway. Even though he didn't reach for his gun, the officer never saw his gun, but Philando Castile was black. That officer was charged with 2nd-degree manslaughter, 2 counts of dangerous discharge of a firearm, and he was acquitted by a jury following a jury trial. And so people who think that white privilege is not real, I would like you to watch this video. Some of the information here is anecdotal from my own personal experiences, obviously. But those are some of the circumstances of how I have benefited from being a white man and a gun owner in the United States, even when interacting with law enforcement, that clearly those types of interactions would go on a different way if I was not a white man. And I firmly believe that.
Many a times we find white people talking about white privilege like it's money, like it's exchangeable with money, like currency. Like, if I have white privilege, why am I poor? If I have white privilege, why can't I afford groceries? Failing to understand what white privilege actually means. It means that among everything else that you have to carry, every other burden that you have, your skin color is not one of those things that you have to worry about. You can walk freely during the day and at night. You can do whatever you need to do without having your skin color as the primary source of maybe your problems, because many a times black people and their skin color, and people of color in general, many a times are their skin colors used as a weapon against them. If you're black, then why are you working at night? If you're black, why are you working in my neighborhood? If you're black, how are you affording certain things? Aren't you supposed to be poor? And these are the things that I am really happy to see that white people are actually coming out and talking about it. Because I remember talking about a few videos back, I remember speaking about how white people are not in peace. They're not at peace because most of them do not quite really understand history and how they have been brainwashed to understand their own history. Many a times white people speak about slavery like it's something to just go over. Oh yeah, there used to be slavery, so what? Same way there used to be this supermarket and it vanished, or they went bankrupt, so what? Like, it's not something inhumane that happened. It's not a big deal to them. And one of the things that you come to find out is most white people either do not have an education of it because they have been taught the wrong things in school, because we all know that slavery is a very big no-no in the education system. White America does not want your kids to learn about how brutal they have been towards other people. They don't want their kids to learn about how disgusting those people used to treat people of color, and specifically black people, because black people are the ones who have suffered way more in the hands of white America. They don't want their kids to learn about this because they want to continue carrying this system on of racism and continuously teaching their kids that they have power just because they have a certain skin color. You don't need to have even skills. As long as you're white, then you're going to win in this life. And I have had so many white men talking about how they have had guns. Even the one who is in this video, he talks about how he has walked around with a gun. You can see other white men even coming out of someone's house. They wear hoodies. Coming out of someone's house carrying something. They're not asked by the police. They're just asked, oh, what are you doing? And then they're like, oh, I'm just trying to prank my brother. And then that's it. But if you see a black man, even if they give you a receipt that they literally bought a speaker or a TV from a supermarket, that can literally get them killed. That white man talks about how he was carrying a gun. He was going home. He is not actually allowed to carry a gun in the state of California. He is allowed to carry a gun in another state. But because he was moving, he told the police that he is actually carrying a weapon, and the police didn't even ask him about any questions. He just said, oh, do not speed another time, like try and check on your speed. But a black man who literally said that he has a gun and he had his girlfriend next to him. He was not reaching for any gun. He just literally just said, I do have a gun in my car, just so that you know, so that you can not find it later and feel like I am going to attack you or anything. And that man ended up dead. And that police officer is back on the streets. He's back on the streets. The system is literally built to make sure that white people win and black people continue to be in pain and continue to live in torment. And you find that whites like talking about how black people, when any conversation comes up, they say that, oh, you're making these conversations about race. Oh, when you're talking about feminism, you're talking about black feminism. What about us who are white? What about white feminism? Oh, you're talking about job opportunities. Why then? What about black job opportunities? Why are you bringing the conversation of race everywhere? But you fail to understand that you're the ones who made a whole country system, a whole country's constitution and laws under and because of race. You made sure that this country will run and its fuel will be white supremacy. White supremacy will be the fuel of this country. You're the ones who made it. So go ask your ancestors. Go ask the people who made America what it is today. Why are you asking black people? They are literally the product of the things that you did. Because black people are living very well. They didn't care for color. And they were very inviting. You came to their homes. You came to their countries. They were very inviting. Oh, you want gold? Take gold. You want spices? Take spices. But yet, you decided to take these people, make them your slaves, make them feel bad about themselves, mine whatever they had, steal all their artifacts, teach them a religion that is not theirs so that they can continue feeling bad about their religions, and the religion that you're teaching them is about, making yourself feel or look as more superior to these people, and then now you're complaining when they talk about race. Well, the system is literally built on that specific topic. When you're the ones who brought that up, racism is the only thing that white people do not like taking accountability for. They act like they're not the ones who brought it up. You're the ones who did. You're the ones who brought it up. And the world is working, and the world is now tormented by the fact that every time you look at someone, you have the first thing that clicks to your mind is the color of their skin. And that's why so many white people are now having so many issues within themselves. There's something wrong. Like, you can't really quite completely find white people. And no wonder, even when black people talk about race, you'll find a Karen or a white, red-skinned head man come to the comments talking about how, oh, why can't you just talk about, the things that we've given you? Why are you always talking about how we've taken this and you've taken that? Why are you centralizing the conversation to yourself? If you did not want to learn anything from that particular video, don't click into it. You find that there are white women who come to the comment sections attacking other black women, when black women are either loved on by their black men, or they're loved on by their fellow black women, or they're speaking highly about themselves. There is just someone who comes and talks about how, why are you always making it about race? Can't you love all women? Why do you have to specify that it's black women? Why are you blaming? Why are you in that conversation? Why are you triggered? It's not your conversation. Do you hear black women coming to your conversation when you talk about your white men or whatever you talk about? They literally even don't know what you guys talk about, because they be minding their own business. You're the ones who are in their business. And until white people realize that their history is actually coming back to torment them, and it's coming back to, they're going to pay for whatever they did. They are refusing to pay reparations, it's fine. But let me tell you one thing, you're going to have to pay one way or another, because you cannot spill blood, you cannot act in such inhumane ways and expect to go freely. It might not be you, it might not be your kids, but it will be someone in your generation. It will be someone in your generation, until you look into what you did, what your ancestors did, and actually do something about it. So a big shout out to the person who has done this video, who have stitched in the video, because he actually speaks of things that he has come to notice. He has spoken about how white privilege has literally put him in places that he didn't know were actually scary to other people. White cops do not pose a danger to white men, but white men actually pose a danger to white cops. But the black men are the ones who are usually attacked by white cops. Because we know this, we know that white on white crime is the highest. Black on white crime is not as big as white on white crime. White people attack each other by mass shootings. Like, they go to church, they kill people. They go to schools, they kill people. They go to supermarkets, they kill their own people. Like, it's just literally killing. Even serial killers, most of them are white, killing whites. And yet, you're so concentrated on black people. Black people don't even be in your business. Like, check on your people, check on yourselves, okay? I hope you've learned something today. If you have, kindly consider sharing, subscribing, and liking. Also, comment. What do you think about this particular topic? I'd like to hear what you have to say and interact with you in the comment section down below. If you'd like to support me in another way, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee link down in the description below, and I will truly appreciate. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.